Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. We are so excited that you are joining with us on tonight. We appreciate you for joining. We getting started, and I'm so grateful for all the folks that are joining and hanging in there with us on tonight. So to God be the glory. God is doing great and awesome things, and we appreciate. So everybody that's there on Facebook, everybody that's joined in on the Living Word and Worship Ministries website, we are giving you a big shout out tonight for joining us to talk about fundamentals for financial freedom. That's right, fundamentals for financial freedom is what we're talking about. We're talking about, the financial stewardship. What does that look like? What does that feel like? We gave you a great foundation on last week. Last week we talked, or last month, excuse me. Last month we talked about some very important things and how we needed to position ourselves in order for us to prosper financially. That it's just not a whim, it's just not something that we do, but it's a mindset. How do we position ourselves? How do we focus our attention on the exact things that we need to do in order to be successful? So tonight we're going to continue to walk in that. Tonight we're going to continue to talk about some of those things. So hopefully you can be blessed by some of the information that we give to you, because I'm going to tell you right now, we got some amazing info to be able to display for you. And so we just need you to get ready and get prepared like never before. And so we just thank you right now that we're about to get into this thing and kind of give you a recap of what we discussed and talked about before. We're going to start talking about a little bit of last week we talked about the 6 steps to financial stewardship. The 6 steps to financial stewardship. So we said step number 1, produce. You have to be able to produce. That means that you have got to focus on increasing yourself. You got to develop yourself. You got to grow yourself. You got to be intentional about moving yourself. Then the second one we talked about was management. Management was the second one. And we talked about how important it is to manage. It's like if you had a light fixture in a certain place and you needed to move that light fixture a little bit. That's what management's all about. How do you take time and make sure you move things accordingly in order to get the correct lighting, in order to get it correct and make it look good? So it's about managing the resources that you have. It's management. And the number 3 is debt elimination. How do you ensure that you are positioning yourself to eliminate the debt that you have? That's right. Debt elimination, debt annihilation, whatever you got to do in order to make sure that you are eliminating debt. And then the last one we talked about was investing and how important it is to, or really we stopped there with debt elimination. And tonight we're going to be talking about investing. Tonight we're going to be talking about savings. Tonight we're going to be talking about spending wisely. And what does that mean? What does that look like? Those are terms that you probably hear often, but they're not necessarily things that we put any meat and potatoes around. So tonight, we're going to tell you of exactly what that looks like, exactly what that needs to feel like in order for you to be successful in your finances. So let's get right into this thing and start talking about this. So the first part I want to talk to you about is the purpose for your money. That's right. We're talking about the purpose for your money. Now, it's important that we recognize the purpose, because unless you understand a purpose of a thing, you will abuse it. So let's think about it like this. If you went out and you purchased a car and you recognize that the purpose of the gasoline in your car is to help your car start, to get you from A to B, if you don't utilize and do exactly what the manufacturer tells you to do with what you were given, which is put gasoline in your car in order to get from point A to point B, then you will abuse the car and you will destroy the purpose of it. So let's say, for example, instead of you putting gasoline in your car, you decided that, you know what, I just want to go ahead and put water in my car because it's way cheaper than gasoline. I mean, I can go to the store, I can get plenty of water. Matter of fact, I don't even have to go to the store to get water. I can get it right in my tap. I can put it in my vehicle. Well, what instantly happens to your vehicle? Your vehicle instantly stops working properly. Now, let me tell you why it stops working properly. It stops working properly because the purpose that your vehicle was intended to use, the fuel source that it was intended to use, is gasoline. So when you put something else besides that in your vehicle, it now destroys your vehicle and it strips away its ability to perform its purpose. So I'm here to talk to you about the purpose for your money. Because before you can obtain or retain wealth, you must first understand its purpose. So I want you to turn in your Bibles with me. That's right. We're going into the Word on tonight, and we're going to give you some information straight from the Bible when it comes to how to handle your money. Now, in Matthew chapter number 25, I want to take you to a familiar passage of Scripture about a stewardship, and when it comes to stewardship, how we handle the things which we are given. Now, in the Scripture here in Matthew chapter number 25, verse number 14, the Bible says this. It says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country, who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And on one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, and to each according to its own ability. And immediately he went on a journey. Then he who had received 5 talents went and traded them and made another 5 talents. And likewise he who had received 2 gained 2 also. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of the servants came and settled accounts with them. So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered me from 5 talents. Look, I've gained 5 more talents besides them. His Lord said to him, well done, my good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord. He also, who had received 2 talents, came to him, saying, Lord, you delivered me from 2 talents. Look, I've gained 2 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over much. Enter into the joy of the Lord. Then he said, who had received 1 talent, came and said, Lord, I knew you would be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. He said, and I was afraid, and went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. But his Lord answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant. You knew that I reaped what I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited your money in the bank, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. Therefore, take the talent from him and give to him that has 10 talents. For everyone who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken. And cast the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness. There he will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, listen, I want you to understand what God is saying here when it comes to finances and financial freedom and financial stewardship here. Last time we talked about producing. That means going out and doing what you can to increase and grow yourself so that way you can continuously make more. The only way to financial freedom is not just saving, but it's also gaining and obtaining more, right? Second one, manage. The way you manage your resources and your money is instrumental to what you do. The third one we said was debt management or debt elimination. How do we eliminate debt so therefore the money that we do have, we have the choice and we can figure out what we do with it as opposed to purchasing things that we cannot afford. All right, so tonight we're talking about investing. I just gave you a story about an investor, a man that had came and he had sown a seed to 3 individual people. To one he gave 5 talents, to one he gave 3 talents, to one he gave, or 2 talents, and to one he gave 1 talent. Now this is very interesting as we look at this scripture here and we recognize that God is really talking about investing here. He's talking about what are you doing with what I've given you. And so I want to break down to you and first talk about that the purpose for your money is to be a resource that allows you to obtain your need, while creating an avenue for sustained increase. It's also a defensive weapon intended to prevent the enemy from moving freely on your affairs. The Bible says money is a defense. So I got to tell you the purpose of it because I want you to understand that the primary purpose for your money is to make more money. That's the actual purpose for your money. When we recognize the purpose for our money, then we'll start to recognize that which we need to do. We'll understand exactly what we need to accomplish. So if I know that the purpose for my money is not to spend my money, if I know the purpose for my money is not to live frivolously and buy things that I want, or in some cases, in most cases, to purchase things that I can't afford, then what we'll do is we'll recognize that if we really handle our money effectively and appropriately, then we will be able to actually increase and improve the amount of money that we have. The primary purpose for our money, I want you to grab this one, write this one down, is to make more money. In this story, you got to think about it. The man left and went away. He gave one 5, he gave one 2, he gave one 1. But the problem is that the one, or not the problem, but the great thing was the one that had 5, he went out and he created 5 more. The one that he gave 2 did the very same thing. He went out and created 2 more. They both were able to double that which they were given. Now, the third one sat back and he just kept what he had. He stored it away. And when the man came back, he says, listen, the least that you should have done was put it in the bank and allow it to collect interest. Now, this is very interesting because I told you I was going to let you know why it's more important for you to invest than to save. Because there are many people that have saved over the years. Many people have taken in incomes and monies and finances, and they've saved it. Some people have put their money in jars, put their money in mattresses, and they've saved a ton of different money. Now, the difference between saving and investing is this. Saving is a behavior of discipline. That means when I'm saving, I have a mindset of discipline. I have a mindset to take that which I make and put some away for the future. And that's good. But let me tell you why investing is more important than saving. 1, it's because the primary purpose of your money is to make more money. 2, it's because when I invest, investing is a behavior of expectation. Investing is a behavior of expectation. When I invest, I have a mindset and a behavior to create more with that which I have saved. So investing is better than saving because investing is saving plus my expectation to obtain more. Saving just means I'm going to save that which I have. But investing means I'm going to take what I have and I'm going to increase it and grow it into something that's bigger than what I saved. That is awesome. That is key. So there are many different types of savings and different types of things that you can do. But we're going to talk about the different types of savings. We're going to talk about savings that are really investing. Because if I put my money in a bank account, yes, I'm saving my money, but it's still a form of investing. Now, it's a very, very not so good form of investing, in my opinion, because if you put your money in a savings account, it's going to regenerate very, very little additional income. In my opinion, there's a lot more things that you can do with your money in order for you to get more with the money that you already have. Because again, the primary purpose for your money is to make more money. Now, in order to be able to do this and to do this effectively, you've got to have the right type of mindset. Mindset is everything when we're talking about investing, when we're talking about saving, and when we're talking about spending wisely. You have to have the right type of mindset. It's instrumental to everything that you do. Because without the right mindset, you will start something today and stop something tomorrow. Without the right type of mindset, you will feel like that you have no control over what's happening or what's going on for what's taking place around you. Sometimes we put our issues, especially financially, on everything else. It's because the job won't give me a raise. It's because my wife or my husband spends too much. It's because the kids always need something. It's because of this or because of that. And so what we do is we give power to everything around us. Because now everything around us becomes more important than our ability to be able to control that which we have been given. And so we use that as an excuse and a mindset to say, I can't get ahead because of the government. I can't get ahead because of this situation or that situation or this situation. Well, I beg to differ with you. Because I'm believing that, we are blessed in a nature to be able to have the responsibility that we are the sum total of the decisions that we make. So tonight I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this next one that's called the owning the problem. When you own the problem, I want to talk to you a little bit about the locus of control. The locus of control is an individual's belief system regarding the causes of his or her experiences and the reasons to which the person attributes success or failure. Internal locus of control is this. It means I can determine my future. It means I have the ability to control what's going on. When I have an external locus of control, that means that it's somebody else's fault. Somebody else is controlling or pulling the strings over what's happening or what's going on, and everybody else has control over what's happening. In order for us to gain a mindset to be able to move forward in the things that we know that how we can use our money and really to maximize its purpose, that means a purpose of our money is to make more money. You're going to hear me say that a lot tonight. In order for us to be able to do that, we have to recognize that in order to do that effectively, that's right, us, we have to take an internal locus of control posture. That means we must recognize that we control the decisions, whether good or bad. I don't know about you, but I've made some very bad decisions with my money over the years. But because I took ownership of those bad decisions, because I learned from the bad decisions, I was able to really transform the bad decisions to now making very good decisions. Some based on the experiences in the past, and some of those decisions based on now the knowledge and expectations of the things that I can do in the future. So what are some of those mindsets that we have to really shake off of ourselves? Some of those mindsets are this. We have to not have the destructive mindsets that say, I deserve what I'm getting, or I don't expect much, or I'm waiting for a miracle, so I'm just sitting back waiting for that. Or the one that says, I'm showing them that I really care, so I'm giving all my money away because I want to show people that I really care. And guess what? I'm not going to have money all the time, so I might as well just, show them I care and just expend everything that I have. Sometimes we say, shopping just makes me feel better. Well, or we have the mindset that says, it really doesn't matter how much money I have. Or, listen, sometimes we use it. Well, we know Jesus was poor. Well, Jesus was not poor at all. The Bible says he had all power in his hands. I mean, he helped Peter, catch a load of fish that was bigger than he ever had before. And matter of fact, he even was able to get money out of the mouth of a fish. Or sometimes we might even say, I'm not good with money. Right? That's our mindset. I'm just not good with money. I'm just not good with it. Or sometimes we just want to impress other people. I just want to impress other people. I just want to ride in this vehicle that I really can't afford. Matter of fact, I can barely afford it. And so that's why I only drive it 2 or 3 days a week, because I can't even put gas in it, because I want to impress other people. That's not the type of mindset that we need to have. We've got to change the way we think. In order for us to determine the solution of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, we got to change the way we think. And we have to get a plan. A plan is necessary. You've heard it before. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's as simple as that. And we have to be very strategic and specific about what we do and how we do it. Because we're talking about investing. We're talking about saving. We're talking about spending wisely in the mindset that's necessary in order for us to be able to do that effectively. So let's determine what that solution is going to look like. Let's start talking about some things that we can do. Let's start talking about what that needs to look like and feel like from us. Well, the first one is this. We have to recognize the purpose. We already understand that. The purpose for our money is what? To make more money. Now, we ought to be passionate about that. So purpose is this. The real reason why which you're doing something or which something exists. So the purpose for our money, we say, is to make more money. Passion is this. A strongly and barely controllable emotion. Strongly and barely controllable emotion, intense desire or enthusiasm for something. You've got to want and desire to come out of the financial situation that you're in. It's got to be a passion for you. You got to desire it so that therefore you can perform the purpose that you say your money's really for. And what's the purpose of your money? To make more money. And then you have to pursue after it. You can't just be passionate and then sit back and do nothing. No, God even works through us. So the same way, in the same like manner, we should take when it comes to our finances. we should be pursuing after that which we know is ours. That means the action of following or pursuing something or someone. So we got to recognize its purpose to make more money. We got to be passionate, barely controllable emotion to want to get where God wants me to be. And number 3, we got to pursue. That means we got to run after this thing, and we can't take it lightly. That's what we have to do. If we do those 3 things effectively, we'll get exactly where we need to be. The next thing we need to talk about is repurposing the monies that you already have, because that's how it's going to happen. Most of us are not just going to come into a large amount of money on tomorrow. So I need you to start with where you are. That means I need you to recognize and understand that if I can just start repurposing the money that I already have, I can get the ball rolling. I can get the ball rolling. I can actually make this thing happen and position myself to get to the place where I really need to be. But in order for me to do that, I have to have the knowledge and discipline necessary. That's what it's all about. What did we say savings was? Savings is the mindset of discipline. When I'm saving and I got a saving mindset, I have a disciplined mindset, a mindset that says a little by little by little by little by little. When I'm investing, I have a expectation mindset. So I'm taking my discipline mindset from the savings element, but now I'm putting it to an investment element that allows me to save little by little and invest little by little, that allows me to obtain larger and larger and larger gains. That means increasing my money, not by any additional work that I have to do on my 9-to-5 job, but simply by being disciplined in my savings and having the expectation in my investing. Now, you know the story of the tortoise and the hare. I mean, the tortoise, he was just moving slowly but surely. And that's how we have to do this thing. Slowly but surely wins the race. So I want you to recognize that this thing is not going to take place overnight. Sometimes we get frustrated with the pursuit of being financially free or obtaining financial stewardship because we get tired of the disciplined approach. We feel as if maybe I can just hit the lottery, or maybe not. Maybe I can just do this or do that. Or maybe this great plan that someone just brought to me sounds so amazing. They said I can make so much money in just 2 or 3 hours a week of time. Well, all the time and most of the time, 99.9% of the time, it's not quite that easy. So the question is, if it's not easy and it takes time, you've got to already cement your mindset into, in order for me to get to where I really want to go, I've got to discipline myself, and it's going to take some time. Because if the mindset is I'm just going to do something right here, right now, and I'm going to make a big amount of money right here, right now, then after a couple of months go by, after a year goes by, you'll quickly jump ship because your expectations were not aligned with your actions. And so sometimes we can have false expectations of what we're looking for it to do. But I want to tell you that if we're consistent with a little by little by little approach, we can make a huge impact on what we're trying to accomplish financially. So let's talk about investing in your future. And this is important because investing, in order to invest effectively, you have to have an investor's mindset. That's right, an investor's mindset. So let's talk about what that looks like. The first piece to an investor's mindset is you've got to buy low and sell high. Now, we're talking about the stock market here. We're talking about anything that you're looking to invest in. You want to purchase it at a fair price, and then you want to see it develop. You want to see it grow. You want to see the price of that which you're investing in increase and grow. That is the avenue of approach when it comes to investing. You need to, long-term investing is the best. You need to know that long-term investing is the best. I mean, it is. I told you before, if you're looking for a get rich, I'm going to jump in today. I'm going to buy something, and tomorrow it's going to be worth millions and millions of dollars, and everything's going to be awesome and wonderful. You're probably going to be disappointed with your investment. That's why people play the lottery so much, right? Because they're looking to make a small investment today that's going to give them a huge return tomorrow. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Pastor Glover, there are some people that win the lottery and they win it big. You're right, they do. But 99.999999999% of people don't win. And for the very, very, very small percentage that does win, the statistics say that they go broke in a 3-year period of time. Why? Because they don't have a mindset of an investor. They don't recognize the purpose for the money. They're not using it in the manner in which we've been talking about over the last couple of months. So that which they have easily and quickly gets squandered away because they're abusing that which they have been given, because their mindset is the only purpose for this money is to spend it. An investor thinks a different way. He has a long-term strategy, a long-term mindset about what they should do and how they should do it. When you have a long-term mindset, you're positioning yourself for success, for big-time success. And I'm going to explain to you in a little bit here why this is so valuable and important. The only way that you lose money, this is the third one, and I love this one, because so many people put money in the stock market, and you're looking at the market every single day. Right? And some people can do that. You know, I'm one of those people, I like looking at the market every now and again. I like to see what's going on at least 2-3 times a week. What's going on? How's it going on? What's it look like? I love doing that. But for some people, that can be absolutely dangerous, because you have to recognize that the only way that you lose money in the stock market is when you sell. That's the only way you lose money. And that's the only way that you really, truly gain or make money, is when you sell. Now, this is an important one for you to recognize and understand, because I'm going to explain to you later why this is so important and why the market can really destroy a lot of people. All right? Number 4, you got to study your stocks carefully before making a selection. And this is not just good with stocks, but any business or anything that you're looking to put money in as an investment, you want to study the investment. Don't just make the decision because someone said it's a good investment. Do some research. The benefit of us in investing today is we have privy to so much information. So if someone comes to you and says, wow, this would be an amazing stock to put your money in, you can instantly go online, go to the sites, go to the company's website, look at their website, look what they stand for, look what products they sell or services they provide, see what their balance sheets have looked like over the last 12 months or 2 years or 3 years of time. You can do some analysis and really understand what that looks like. That's important. If you don't study what you're putting your money into, then you're probably going to set yourself up for potential failure. Because the best way for you to be successful when you're investing is to know what you're investing in. Take some time and study. Grow you. All right? And then the last one that I have here is don't touch the principal. Now, I'm going to tell you why, and from a savings aspect and from an investing standpoint, it's important for you not to touch the principal. That means every dollar that you put in, if you're going to get ready to take money out for some reason, some emergency, something that you feel like you need, whatever the case might be, only take out the amount of money that you actually made. Don't take out the principal amount that you initially put in, because it's that principal amount that will continue to bring you gains and returns on a consistent basis. So we talked about the discipline approach. Don't destroy your discipline in saving and investing by touching your principal. Don't do that. Always keep the principal alive and well. And always take a disciplined approach by adding to it. Now, all of these, I hope, were great slides. This was a great slide and gave you some great examples of the mindset that you have to have as you walk into this world of investing. Now, I want to say this, though, Because when you're investing, it can be easy for you to forget about the number one most important investment. That's right. This investment is greater than investing in Berkshire Hathaway, which is owned by Warren Buffett. It's better than an investment in Apple. It's better than an investment in Google or Amazon. It is the number one thing, so I need you to write this down. The best investment that you can ever make is in yourself. That's right. The best investment you can ever make is in you. And you've got to remember that. Your capability and capacity to learn, to gain the knowledge and the understanding and the wisdom on what to do with what you've been given is important. That's why I say you've got to study, and you've got to study intently. Because when you study and when your focus is on that which you are trying to accomplish, what happens is you become confident in your decisions. You start to see things and recognize things. Why? Because you've invested in yourself. You've invested the time, the effort, and energy in learning and developing. So therefore, whether it's you starting a business, whether it's you investing in real estate, or whether it's you going into the stock market, you can go into it confidently and comfortably. And you won't be waved around like the wind that pushes a boat to and fro. Why? Because you understand that there are sometimes there's going to be good things that take place and sometimes bad. But when something bad happens, you don't quickly make a reaction. What you do is you just reassess the situation and you keep progressing forward, leaning on your confidence and your expertise in the development that you've given to yourself. That's the mindset of a great investor. So let's talk about investing. And let's talk about some safe investments and some risky investments. So we're getting down to some nitty-gritty. So let's talk about some safe investments here. The first safe investment is high-yield savings accounts. Now, I put on there high-yield savings accounts, but the high yield in today's world is like 1.5%, which is not a whole lot of money. But that's a very safe investment. CDs and certificates of deposit, or what they call them. You can get those from your banks as well. And those are safe along with high-yield savings account because they're insured by the FDIC for, in many cases, up to $250,000. So if you're investing anything less than that, your money is very secure in these investments. High-yield money market accounts, also something that you can get from banks or banking establishments, are very safe investments. Bonds that you can get from the government or dividend-paying stocks. So these are stocks that bring forth dividends, which means that over a period of time, whether it's quarterly, whether it's monthly or yearly, they actually pay you a certain amount based on how their stock actually performs. So that's a very interesting concept as well. If you need to learn more about that, guess what? Go back to the most important investment, investing in you. Get that knowledge and understanding of these things, and you'll know exactly which one fits your need based on your situation. Now let's talk about some risky investments. So the first one is any investment that sounds like a get-rich-quick scheme. Anybody that comes to you, which is not on my slide here, but I figured I'd add this in for free. Anybody that comes to you and says, guess what? All you got to do is just put this little money down. It only takes an hour or 2 hours a week, and you can make all kinds of money. Guess what? If it was that easy, everyone, including them, would be doing it. And if they were doing it and they were making that type of money, they wouldn't be at your door trying to get you to do it with them. All right, so on my list, though, I have penny stocks. Penny stocks are tough. Let me tell you why they're tough. They're tough because penny stocks, a lot of penny stock businesses go out of business, right? And so whatever you put into it, you lose everything because it's not a formidable business. That's why it's a penny stock, because it just hasn't gotten to a point where people have any confidence in its ability to make money in the long term. And what type of investments do we do? Long-term investments. Those are the ones that we look at. Number 2, exploratory drilling of gas and oil. I don't even know if I need to explain that one. Like if you're investing your money in something that is exploratory and they don't even know if it's there or not, then guess what? Buckle up. Because if they don't find anything, which many times they don't, you lose everything. And if they do find something, you win the motherlode. So it's got an enormous risk. One way or the other, it's either all gain or all loss. All right, number 3, the futures market. The futures market is a very tough market. It's a very volatile market, and it's just very tough to kind of understand. I would say, unless you're a professional and you've done a lot of studying of the market and understand how that market works, stay far free from future markets. And then the last one, IPOs or initial public offerings. So initial public offerings are companies that initially go onto the stock market, and it's their first time they're going on the market, and their initial IPO, right? So a lot of people like to jump on those because they're cheap at first and they're expecting big time returns. The only risky thing about IPOs is this: they could potentially go out of business as well because they're just starting their stock journey and having to have the pressure of handling the quarterly results that they've got to give every single quarter. And they've got to own. So whatever they say they're going to do, hey, we're going to do XYZ amount of revenue. And if they don't own up to that, then that stock's going to plummet. And a lot of times, a lot of IPOs go out of business or never really take off the way they need to because they just don't make it through that initial pressure that they have to be successful in the very beginning. So those are a great example of some safe investments and some risky investments. Now, this is going to be interesting for you because the key to our investing, as we talked about the man in Matthew chapter number 25, we talked about it's important to make more money. That's the purpose. And investing gives you the capability of doing that and doing that in a very meaningful way. But you got to have the mindset to invest and invest in the long term. Now, let me tell you about 3 investments that most people use all the time that are tremendous when it comes to increasing your money. And then let me also tell you this tip. I was reading a Forbes magazine. It was about maybe 15 years ago, sitting outside of the office of my boss at the time. And I opened it up and I flipped through the pages. And I got to a page and I was reading an article about, self-made millionaires. And in the article it said 86%, that's right, 86% of self-made millionaires made their money in the stock market. Now, I thought this was very interesting because at this time, I knew nothing about the stock market. So what did I have to do? I had to go back to step number 1 in investing, which is invest in you. The best investment you can make is in you. So I started to study, I started to develop, I started to grow, I started to read, I started to understand how the market works. I started to recognize what bull markets meant and bear markets meant, all these different terms and things that I needed to know in order to be effective when investing on the market. Now, this is important because as we get ready to move forward, we're talking about the 3 investments that most people use to become successful. And it's this. The first one is they use savings accounts, right? Savings accounts are accounts that are used in order to create wealth. Now, again, it's a very small amount of wealth that I feel like they can create, and I think there's a better way to do it. But most people use some sort of savings account. Number 2, the stock market. I already told you 86% of self-made millionaires made their money from the stock market. It's a very lucrative and great way in order for you to increase and grow your money. And you can't be scared to invest. Why can't you be scared? Because if you're scared to invest, you become like the 3rd man in the story in Matthew chapter 25. You put your money in the ground and you don't do anything with it. Therefore, you don't get a return. So you've got to do something with that which you've been given, so therefore you can get the return that you're looking for. And then the 3rd type of investing that most people use is real estate investing, or any combination of the 3. Savings accounts, whether that be an IRA, whether that be a bank account, whether it's the stock market now I'm investing, and real estate, you can do all 3. And I think having a diversified portfolio is a great way to be able to invest. So if any one thing dips or goes down, you have something else that's going up and now moving needles. So overall, you're still increasing and you're still improving when it comes to the averages. So we talked about investing wisely and why that's so important and what that means and what that looks like. We talked about risky investments, and we also talked about safe investments. Now, that's key for us because as we understand risky and safe investments, we understand exactly how much risk do we want, how much reward do we want, and how long are we looking to invest. That's why I think you need to find something in the middle, right? The middle is where you need to be, because being in the middle allows you to get in something that's a little less risky than some of those things we talked about before, but yet it's going to give you a bigger return than some of those other things that we talked about when it comes to very safe investments. Now, I'm not here to tell you where to invest or why to invest. I'm just trying to get you understanding that the more you invest in yourself and the more that you do the research and become confident about the things that you're investing in, you'll be able to position yourself effectively in order to grow the monies that you've been disciplined with. So let's talk about a stock or two, shall we? On this slide here, what you're going to see is the stock DIS. And for the ones that might not know what that stock code is, that is the stock code for the Disney company. That's right, Walt Disney Company himself. Now, this chart is back in February timeframe, and it starts off, and you see kind of where the gains are here. And then you see those gains quickly coming down and plummeting. Now, let me go to the mindset for a second and explain to you the mindset of what happens when people see this taking place. So when we go to the actual top here and you have bought something at the top, once you start seeing the market slide and you start seeing the thing go down, you're like, oh my gosh, it's going down. I'm losing money. Sell, 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 sell. Well, that's exactly what you don't want to do. You don't want to sell, 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 because now you're selling your shares for less than you bought them for. So if I bought these shares in February when the stock price was higher and I sold it in March when it started dropping and plummeting, I sold it for less. And that's the exact opposite of what you want to do. People that understand the market make so much money on folks that do that very thing all the time, because inside of you, you feel like you're losing money, but you're not. And let me tell you why you're not losing money. Because the only way you lose money in the market is when you sell. That's the only way you lose money. So it doesn't matter how high your dollars go, or it doesn't matter how low it goes. The only time you lose is when you sell something. So if you feel like a company is going out of business completely, then it's probably a good idea to jump ship and to get out. But just because you see a blip on the screen, just because you're checking the stocks every single day and you're looking at it and you see a big drop, that's not the time to sell. It's the exact opposite. You're at a time where you can actually buy the stocks at a discount. It's a sale. What are you talking about? Well, in February, you bought the stock and you bought it at a certain price. It's just like going to the store and you see the milk price at $4. And then you're walking back in a week later and the milk price is only $2. You get excited. Why? Because you're like, the milk's only $2 now when it was $4 just 2 weeks ago. That's the same type of approach you need with the stock market. When you see that drastic drop, let's show that drastic drop again. When you see that drastic drop, you don't get scared, you don't panic, and you don't sell. What you do is say, you know what? Disney is a pretty formidable company. And if the stock went down, it's probably going to come back, because I don't see Disney going out of business anytime soon. So when you see that dramatic drop, then what you want to do is you want to purchase more. That's right. You want to purchase more. Because when you purchase more, you're buying every share at a discount. So when that price jumps back up to the place that you bought it originally, guess what? Now you've made money because it went down. And because so many people were jumping ship because they were panicking about this decrease, because they're in it for the short term, you're saying, you know what? It's okay if it goes down today or this month or for 2 months or for 6 months, because I'm in it for the long run. That's right. I'm in it for the long run. And so my focus is keeping my principle intact and investing in a disciplined nature for the long run. And the expectation is that growth shall come. And it usually does in our market. Growth comes. We have been in a growth market in our country for a very, very long period of time. And some of the most prominent stocks within our business that we've seen around forever, they've grown tremendously. So let's talk about what that looks like and why this is so important. So on the very next slide here, what you're going to see is Disney as well. That's right. This is Disney as well. But what I've given to you is I've given you a 10-year snapshot. So that same exact stock that maybe you purchased in February that you're so passionate to sell in March because it's going down so quickly and I got to sell, sell, sell. No, don't sell. That's the time when you buy more. Why? Because of slides like this. Take a look at this curve here. This is amazing. You see where my dotted lines are here. It's starting you out at October the 11th, 2010. At October 11th, 2010, the stock price was $31.95. That's right, $31.95. Now, you can see how many ups and how many downs and how many ups and how many downs and how many ups and how many downs. But in the long run, because how do we invest? We invest long term. In the long run, this stock has went up and it's went up substantially. Now, you can see that even right now, as of today, I pulled this chart today, this stock is not as high as it was maybe just 4 or 5 months ago. It's gone down and it's come back up. But all the investing that I've done over 10 years of time, look at that. From $31.95 to the far right dot that you see on the screen here for this stock, the stock price ended today at $119.43. That means this: if I would have invested just and bought 100 shares back in October of 2010 of Disney, right, I would have spent $3,195. The same 100 shares today would be worth $11,943, which means not only did I double my money like the men in Matthew chapter 25, I've tripled my money almost based on what I initially paid. Why? Because I invested for the long term. And I'm not talking about a disciplined investor that invested every month small over and over and over and over again to where your total investment ends you up with 1,000 shares or 2,000 shares. I'm talking about you made a one-time investment of 100 shares, because you don't have to invest a long period of time. Or you don't have to, or I mean, you do want to invest for a long period of time, but it doesn't take a whole lot of money to start investing. It doesn't take a ton of money to start investing. It just takes you getting started. See, the people have said, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money to invest. Well, no, that's not the truth. You can start with as little as you want to start with. You just have to start somewhere. Now, you look at a stock like Disney, and you say, well, man, I don't even have $100 and some to buy it. Well, that's okay. If you wanted to just buy a portion of a share, you can. If you just have $50 that you wanted to put in the market every single month, you could do that. And guess what? Probably in the next 10 years, this stock will be worth way more than what it's worth now. So the question is, what are you waiting for? If you know that the primary purpose for your money is to make more money, and you know that it's better to invest than it is to save, then what are you waiting for? Saving means I'm just taking my money and I'm just putting it away under a mattress somewhere, and it's not doing anything more for me. Just like the third man in Matthew chapter number 25, where he said, you wicked and lazy servant. But if I do what the first two had did, I take that which I'm given, my purpose is to make more money, and I actually invest it or putting it in an investment strategy, which can be a savings account, at least I'm doing is bringing back the interest that my money accrue through those types of savings products. That's important. So again, the same dollars and cents that you could have invested 10 years ago brings you a great return. So when you're investing in the market, don't panic when things go down, right? Don't panic. Just ride out the storm. Most millionaires, when investing in the market, make money during recessions, make money during the Depression. Why? Because all of the stocks are so cheap. And when the market comes back in a big way, guess what? Boom. All of your stocks that you purchased are now worth way more than they were when things look bad. So that's why the discipline is so important. So when the recession comes or when the depression comes, it doesn't hit your door because you've been disciplined in your approach. You have an emergency fund. You're not living paycheck to paycheck. Because guess what? 24% of people have an emergency fund, and 76% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. That means they don't have any money available. They're not saving anything. They're not investing anything. Every single week they get paid, they know by the time they get to the next payday, every single penny they already have is going to be gone. And in many cases, it's simply because they don't have a plan. And like I said previously, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We got to have a game plan. So let's talk about what a saving strategy can be. Now, I want to talk about a saving strategy because these are savings tools. So even though these are called saving strategies, they're still investments. They still come with some level of risk. The risk is just a lot lower. So let's talk about what this looks like. I want to talk to you a little bit about what happens when you save $2,000 a year. 2,000 is all we're talking about here. We're talking about approximately $5 a day of savings. We're not talking about a large amount. We're not talking about big time dollars. We're talking about $2,000 a year. You take that $2,000, you divide it by 12, right? We're talking about a minimal amount of money. Less than $200 a month. Less than $200 a month. We're talking about what happens to that after year one. If your average year growth is 10%, right? 10%. And you can get that on many mutual funds. And in many cases, you can make more than that. So if you just took your money and you put it in a mutual fund, right? You just put it in a mutual fund. Mutual fund is something where you have multiple stocks that are in a fund that gain a certain percentage of increase in income. You put it in that mutual fund, you assign those monies in a mutual fund, and 1 year you have $2,000 because what? You're investing $2,000 a year. This goes back to that consistency of investing. After 5 years, you would think 5 times 2 would be 10. But no, in 5 years, you don't have $10,000. In 5 years, you have $12,887.68. Why? Because after year one, you get a certain amount of interest. Then year two, you not only make money on the money you put in, but you also make money on the interest that was given to you in year one. It's called compound interest, where you now start making money on the interest that you have. After 10 years, what does that number look like? 10 years, I make $33,643.42. Now, again, if you took 10 years worth of savings, right, $2,000 a year over 10 years, that'd only be $20,000. But because you're putting your money into a saving strategy, right, a comfortable saving strategy, you have $13,643.42 extra cents that you wouldn't have had just in 10 years. If I'm just disciplined in my approach and I don't jump off the bandwagon, I can be right there. In 20 years, what does that look like? $120,905.78. Again, I'm just putting in every single month, every single year, $2,000 a year, and I can have saved over $120,000. Now, if you take $2,000 a year times the 20 years, you would assume and you would see that you've only put in $40,000. You put in $40,000 and your return is $120,000. Are you kidding me? This is how powerful. I go back to Matthew chapter 25, where he says, listen, you ought to deposit the money in the bank, and at my coming I would have received that back plus interest. This is what this is talking about. If you're consistent in your approach, if you have the disciplined nature to save, and then you have an expectation for your money to make more money, this is what you could do in 20 years. So imagine if you was 20 years old and you just started off in this journey right here. $2,000 a month. And by the time you got 40, you got $20,000, over $120,000 in the bank, chilling because of your discipline and because of your mindset to invest and grow that, what you've been given. In 40 years, check out the 40-year total. The 40-year total, $934,229.44. Just if you were taking $2,000 a year for 40 years. Now, 4 times 2,000, right, would mean that you only put in of your own money over a 40-year time frame, $80,000. So think about this. If I was going to buy a house for $80,000 over a 40-year time frame, even with the interest that they would charge, I would probably pay $190,000 for that house, for the $80,000 house. If I kept it for 30 years, was just to say 40 years, I'd probably pay about $200,000 for the $80,000 house. Based on the numbers that we're talking about here, you can take that same money, invest it, 10% return, and you can have in 40 years over $900,000, $70,000 away from being a millionaire in cash. I'm not talking about the assets that you have. I'm just talking about cash. That is huge. So, what are you doing with what you've been given? Are you taking the tortoise approach? Are you disciplined in your approach? And making sure that you are positioning yourself for what's yet to come. Now, let's go to the next slide, and I'm going to go through this one pretty quickly. But this is an average car payment. The average car payment in the United States is $412 a month. So now we're up in the ante. Instead of $2,000 a year, we're saying if you took your average car payment, because you know we like to drive in nice cars, but instead of driving in a nice car, you're going to drive in your hoopty. Right? You're going to drive in the hoopty, and you're going to take the money that you would have had that nice car with, and you're going to put it, and you're going to invest it. You're going to get your 10% yearly growth percentage on that. After 1 year, right, you're going to get $4,944 is where you're going to be with that $412. 5 years, you're going to have $31,794.76. In 10 years, you're going to have $83,000.53. 20 years, you have $298,282.53. And in 40 years, if you were 20 years old and you started this plan and you kept doing this for 60 years, or 40 years, excuse me, till you got to the age of 60, you would have $2,304,978.25. That's never putting a penny more than the $412 consistently. This is the power of consistency. This is the power of discipline. If you stop your monthly deposits after 10 years and just let it sit, in 40 years, you'd still have over $1 million. You'd have $1,448,309.64. So if you went to the 10-year mark, you stopped after 10 years and just left it in there for another 30 years, you would still have $1.4 million that you would have available for yourself. And I'm not even talking about adding any more money. I'm not talking about putting any more money in. I'm just talking about not touching your principle and being disciplined in your approach. Disciplined in your approach. This is the way God has given us the ability to improve our financial situation. Again, it's not a short-term gain. It's a long-term gain, because the primary purpose for our money is to make more money. And so the more money that I have, the more money that can be made. The smaller amount of money that I have, the smaller amount of money that can be made. That's why it's so minimal at first, and then it builds, and it becomes so much larger. I'm hoping that you're seeing the benefits of this tonight. Just a couple more, and I'm basically going to be done. So it's all about spending wisely. Spending wisely is important. So in order to spend wisely, because sometimes This is the number one reason why we don't invest, and the number one reason why we don't save. It's because we don't spend wisely. We buy things that we can't afford to impress people that we don't know. That's a Dave Ramsey quote. We get into this mindset that where we purchase things and we buy things that we can't afford because we're trying to impress people that we don't know. We want to pull up to the curb with a Mercedes, so people can say, "Oh man, did you see that guy driving that Mercedes?" Because we think that it's the things around us that make us who we are. But that's not it at all. The problem is we have to recognize what type of spender are we. Are we the fanatical shopper? Are we the impulsive buyer? Are we the passive buyer? Or maybe we the esteem spender or the special interest spender. Or maybe the hot potato spender. There's some sort of spending issue that we have. It's, well, I got to get something because, it's Christmas, so I got to buy everybody something, like everybody that's in my phone book something, regardless of the cost, because we feel like by me giving, it's the right thing to do during this time, even though it's hurting myself, putting myself in a bad position. That's not the case. You can give, and you can give wisely. We talked about that during our last session that we had together. But you got to give wisely. You can't be the impulsive buyer. Well, this just feels good right now, so I'm going to buy everything. I call it the walking in the grocery store hungry syndrome. You know how it is. You walk in the grocery store, you haven't eaten for hours, you are just ridiculously hungry, and guess what? The shopping cart is like, it's like this much over the edge of the cart. I mean, you got food busting out the sides, everything. I've been there. I've done that. But that's the way that we do when it comes to our spending sometimes. We are just like impulsive, like, oh my gosh, do you see that? It's on sale. I got to get it now. If I don't get it now, it won't be on sale when it comes back. Well, that's probably a good thing. Because guess what? Just because it's on sale doesn't mean you can afford it. It just doesn't. And so you got to be able to make the right decisions and be able to maintain and understand who you are so you can make the right decisions about what you do with your money. So spending wisely is important. You have to have a game plan for that. You got to make sure that you are budgeting. You're looking at your money. The question is, how much did you spend last month? What is your game plan and for how much you want to spend this month? Do you know what those numbers are? Have you taken time to dig into them? If not, that's your first step. Because as long as you don't know how much money I spent last month, how much money I'm planning on spending this month, money just kind of disappears into thin air because we're not monitoring it, we're not tracking it, we're not understanding it, and we're not being intentional about what we do. If you can become intentional about what you do, you can become intentional about the last 3 pieces of the puzzle when it comes to the 6 steps to financial stewardship. The last time we were together, we talked about produce, increasing, driving more. We talked about managing that which you get. You got to be a great manager, manage your money effectively. Then we also talked about debt elimination, killing a debt, eliminating it. Tonight we talked about investing, we talked about saving, and we talked about spending your money wisely. All of these are ridiculously important. And if I was to give one final tip before we end this session on tonight, it would be this. If I'm getting whatever 100% of what I'm making is, you should first pay God. That means 10%. Give, and it will come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, and it shall come back. Secondly, pay yourself. Now, what does that mean? That means if whatever the 100% of what I get is, I take my first 10%, I give it to God. I take the second 10%, I invest it and I save it. And then I take the other 80% and I manage it effectively. So I got 100% of the pie, 10% goes to God, 10% goes to me, and from a saving standpoint, investing standpoint, and then 80% I manage effectively. That which is not managed effectively gets out of control. Think about it like a garden. If you have a garden or ever had a garden, bugs get in the garden, weeds can get in the garden, all kinds of crazy stuff can get in the garden. And what does that do? It destroys your crop. So if you don't manage what you have effectively, then it gets destroyed. You have to have a plan, and you have to manage effectively. Managing effectively and managing the plan and have a disciplined approach with an expectation of future earnings is the way you obtain great financial stewardship. So I hope that these lessons have been beneficial for you. I hope that this has woken up or stirred something up on the inside of you that says, you know what, I can and I will do better in order for me to get to the place that I really want to go when it comes to my finances. Now, here's the deal. The ball is in your court. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to continue to do the things that you've done up to this point? Or are you going to take the initiative to invest in the most important and the most beneficial investment that you could ever invest in? And that's you. When you increase your knowledge, when you increase your understanding, when you recognize exactly what you need to do and become confident in the decisions that you're going to make, that's when investing becomes a discipline. It becomes an attitude and a mindset. And I'm asking you to start today, not tomorrow. You know, my son just turned 18 years old in February, and he already has his own investment account with Fidelity. Not dad's account, his own account. Why? Because he's starting early. And the earlier you start, the greater returns you can obtain. The earlier you start, the greater returns you can obtain. So he's learning and he's developing and he's growing financially. And it also benefits him because he's going to college. This is his first year that he's about to go and attend. And he's going to be majoring in finance and economics. So you know Dad's pretty excited about that. But for everybody that's out there, you've got the same opportunities as well. Invest in yourself. Find out exactly what you need to do in order for you to get to the financial place that you want to be. No longer put it on get-rich-quick schemes or, trying to make a quick buck here or trying to play the lottery and hope that I hit a number. No. Just take what you get. Follow the biblical principles that say this. If you're faithful over a few things, I will make you ruler over much. Take that which you've given. Understand that the purpose for your money is to make more money. When you recognize that, when you live by that, when you walk like that, what takes place is you get the increases that you've been looking for. And when you get 60, 70, maybe 80 years old, you have a lot of money that's in the bank that you can use during those years of your life. And now you can be a blessing to so many other people because now you have it to be able to give it. And you can give it in a big way. And how awesome is that? Be disciplined. Know and learn and grow. And when you do that, you'll get to the financial freedom that you've been looking for. So listen, thank you so much for joining on tonight. We appreciate you for checking us out. And hopefully we've given you a nugget or two that you can take away and go use on your own. I also ask that if you have any questions, any comments about what we've talked about and discussed, go ahead and put those in the chat box. I'd love to be able to respond to some of those questions that you might have and kind of give you some of my insights on some other things that maybe I didn't talk about tonight. I'm really excited about this journey, and I'm excited about where I've been able to come over these last 15 or 20 years. It hasn't been easy by any stretch of the imagination. But guess what? With a little bit of consistency and a whole lot of focus, that passion and that purpose and that pursuit rising up on the inside and saying, guess what? We can do this. So continue to be blessed. continue to move forward and continue to do what you need to do to be financially free. Thank you all again for joining us on tonight. We appreciate you, and we'll check you out pretty soon. Have a great night.